Mongol Empire is invading our home. They are brutal.
Ghost of Tsushima is a game that has a very steep learning curve and very challenging opponents. But you know, that doesn't have to be a bad thing. The challenge is all part of the fun when it comes to this game, and there's no better feeling when you finally master the combat style and you can use it effectively against your enemies. For our review, we played the game in English with English subtitles, but there are also options that include Japanese with English subtitles. There's also an option to play the whole game in black and white. This black and white mode gives you a real sense of a classic Japanese film, and it also has English and Japanese language settings. First, we'll focus on the important part, the gameplay. Now, as I stated previously, Ghost of Tsushima offers a nice challenge for the gamer, but it's not one of those which makes you want to absolutely destroy your controller in rage. Admittedly, I struggled quite a bit to master the combat scenarios right at the start. There was a growing sense of frustration about how my combo moves just weren't landing, or that I couldn't break somebody's shield. But it turns out it was me who was making the errors here, not the computer being overly difficult. The game was throwing challenges at me that weren't exactly overly difficult, and could be done. It was just the way I was going towards them was completely wrong in the grand scheme of things. The control layout is pretty simple as well, which is favourable. There's a straightforward, definitive difference between a light and a strong attack move, and there's even a charged stab move, although admittedly I didn't really use that much. While very powerful, this stab move takes an awful long time to charge up to use, which, when you have a look at the gameplay that I've given you here, it's not exactly ideal. It would be amazing to be able to stab somebody with such force, but at the rate these enemies are coming towards me, it's just not going to happen. What you can see here is my attempt at taking over a settlement. Attempt's probably the accurate word for it, because it really didn't go as I envisaged. My original idea was to go full stealth mode and take out everybody quietly, but as you can see, after one takedown stealthily, everybody suddenly gets alerted. That was probably my fault. I wasn't exactly subtle. So then I'm forced to take a different approach and go full on combat. So after several painful deaths, I was able to construct a tactic, and it was through careful strategic planning that I managed to overtake the settlement. This is one of the main features I liked about the game. It wasn't like a simple approach to many, where you just run in and kill everybody. You had to really think about the way you approached it. Admittedly, the option is there to charge in and start slashing at everybody, but it's not the wise one to take, and it will usually end up in your own death. Again, stealth is an option, but it's not usually the most viable one. Sure, you can take down a few guards with it, but if you want to take down a whole settlement through stealth, it's going to take a lot of patience and a lot of precision. Ghosts offer you the chance to mix and match your styles of play, so you can incorporate the brutal and damaging gameplay, mixed in with a bit of stealth, and a bit of ranged combat at the same time. It was quite funny actually, because there were plenty of scenarios where I was just walking through the wilderness on my horse, and I'd come across two stray rebels, just wandering around. An easy challenge really for most people, you'd think, but upon leaping off my horse and charging towards them, I found that it wasn't really simple at all. So often is the trope in video games that these little stragglers are dead easy to kill. Ghosts even made them a challenge. As you can see from the gameplay above, this was captured even after I've upgraded my sword a little bit, and you can still see that the challenge was present. So often is the case now with video games, that as soon as they seem a bit difficult, or the combat isn't in a simple format, the game seems to fall into that Dark Souls category. Sekiro was the type of samurai game that perfectly defined that Dark Souls style of play, but Ghost doesn't deserve to fall into that category. Yes, it does implement a lot of elements that are present in the Dark Souls series, especially with its combat, but it just doesn't feel like a Souls game. Ghost of Tsushima stands out on its own, and it really doesn't deserve to be lumped in with any other genre of game like that. While there may be similarities to other games, it just doesn't have the same feel as them. It has a really unique standpoint. and as a whole, it just felt like an experience that I'd never really seen before. That is a positive, by the way. The quest lines were actually one of my favourite elements of the game overall. Each task that you faced felt like it had a purpose, and that it would grow the storyline overall. No challenge, side mission, or main mission ever felt forced. Everything you did was beneficial to the overall growth of your character. One particular element which I really enjoyed was how Ghost presented its tutorial styles. So often games give you that really boring intro level where you're just learning how to press all the buttons and which buttons mean what. Ghost took a different approach to this presentation. To learn about the combinations, you would travel back into Jin's past and see how he was taught them from his master. It's a nice approach to teaching the basics of the gameplay, and you get to learn a little more about Jin's past. So mixing together story expansion and a tutorial, that's a big win for me. Ghost of Tsushima was a game that I had a lot of fun overall playing. I really enjoyed the challenges that it offered me, and that the game wasn't as simplistic as many other titles have been. The storyline itself was very coherent, and it taught you a lot of things about the samurai traditions that you actually wanted to learn. The game never really felt laborious in any way, and playing it was actually quite a lot of fun. My main issue is, however, that once I completed the game, I didn't really have any kind of ambition to go back and replay it. Throughout my playthrough, there was a lot of side missions and kind of challenges that I missed, but when I finished it, I didn't want to go back and do them. I do like a lot of games that have replayability value. God of War is a perfect example of that. Once I'd finished the main quest on God of War, I had a lot of other things to do as well, like hunt down the Valkyries, and I actually wanted to do them. But with Ghost of Tsushima, once I'd finished the main quest, I just didn't have that drive really to go back and start the whole thing again. I couldn't quite put my finger on why I felt that, but even now, I don't really feel the need to go back. It was almost as like I finished the storyline and that was the end of the game. It's an odd feeling that I haven't really felt for quite a while with a game. You'd have to go back to kind of the PlayStation 3 era of games where that was present. Don't get me wrong, the game's absolutely beautiful and it plays brilliantly, but I feel that having replayability is a major factor that games like this need, and it was just lacking here for some reason. We have Brett Claxton here as well, to provide a second opinion on Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima is a beautiful game. Its world is full of moments that'll make you stop and just enjoy the scenery. Bright and bold, it catches the eye and encourages you to explore it, to experience it, and to be a part of it. Whether that's finding a shrine, following a bird, or petting a fox, the world has so much happening that it's a joy to behold. That is Ghost of Tsushima at its best, when it's your playground to explore and enjoy at your own pleasure. Once you start to dive into what else the game has to offer though, some cracks do start to appear. Story missions, whether side quests or main quests, are littered with fellow quest sections, glorified escort sections, and even a few fail game if you're spotted sections. The freedom of the world is stripped away to become an experience like countless other games. Is this a bad thing? Yes and no. There's plenty of fun moments still, and there's a reason these mission types are such commonplace in gaming. But it's when Ghost of Tsushima is doing something a bit different, it excels. One thing I love about the game is the descent into being a stealthy ghost. You are a samurai that is all about honour, so being sneaky is not something you're used to. As you progress, you have clear moments highlighting that this is not how you were trained. It's a nice way to add to the story and makes you genuinely consider which route to go. If you do decide that stealth isn't for you, then the way of the samurai does not disappoint. Stand off against enemies and hit them with huge hits, wiping them out instantly. Wait patiently for them to strike and parry them away before unleashing lethal slashes with your sword. It's extremely satisfying combat, even if it does take a little getting used to. Waiting for the enemy to move first and successfully taking them out never gets old. The characters that fill the world are fascinating too. The side quests that tell their stories are often quite lengthy and feel like an entire game in themselves. It's rare to have side quests complement a game so well. The main story is also an interesting one that sets up its good and bad guys nicely. Overall, Ghost of Tsushima offers an open world experience that is fun, is let down a bit by its missions. If you can look past that though, you will love it. Whether you're sidetracked by the abundance of side quests, pushing on with the main story, tracking down collectibles, or just exploring the vibrant world, there's no denying that Ghost of Tsushima has plenty to do. If you enjoyed the review, remember to show it some love in the comments below and let us know what you think of Ghost of Tsushima.